Hey everyone, and welcome. Most people really do want to be generous. So, why is it so tough for nonprofits to turn those good intentions into actual donations? Well, today we're going to dive into the psychology behind what makes people give and how any organization can tweak its brand message to close that gap between meaning well and actually doing good. So get this, it all started with a simple charity drive on a college campus, selling daffodils. Researchers went around and asked students, hey, you plan on buying some flowers for a good cause? And, intentions were super high. But the results? Wow. Nearly half of the students who said they'd buy flowers bought nothing at all. This isn't just about daffodils, of course. It's a perfect snapshot of the single biggest challenge in the nonprofit world, the gap between wanting to give and actually giving. All right, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to define what this generosity gap really is. Then we'll dig into the psychological roadblocks that create it. And once we really get the problem, we're going to build the solution piece by piece. We'll use proven science that connects with donors through emotion, their own identity, and, a little bit of peer pressure, all to show you how to build the perfect ask. So let's start with the big one. The central problem every single nonprofit is up against is what we're calling the generosity gap. It's that frustrating disconnect between how generous people want to be and what they actually do. Now, this isn't because people are secretly stingy. The research is pretty clear that most of us genuinely want to help out. The gap exists because there's this whole tangle of complex psychological forces and little hurdles that just get in the way of our best intentions. They stop us from following through. And just think about how wide that gap really is. We're talking about nearly 50% of potential donors in that daffodil study. People who literally said, yes, I intend to, who just didn't. That's huge. Imagine what closing just a tiny fraction of that gap could do for your mission. So, what's actually causing this gap? Well, behavioral scientists have a great term for it: mental friction. It's this series of, subtle psychological barriers that can slow down or even completely stop the act of giving before it even starts. And these are some of the biggest culprits right here. You've got choice paralysis. That's when a donor sees too many causes or too many giving levels and their brain just shorts out. Then there's good old procrastination, the I'll totally get to it tomorrow effect. Tedious tasks, like a clunky donation form with a million fields, makes giving feel like homework. And, of course, diffusion of responsibility. That's the classic assumption that, someone else will probably donate. Every single one of these is a roadblock. But one of the most powerful barriers is something called present bias. See, our brains are wired to feel the pain of an immediate cost, like money leaving our bank account right now, way more intensely than a future benefit. It's why one study found that asking donors to give more tomorrow, with just a 2-month delay, actually boosted donations by 32% compared to asking for more money today. It just feels easier. And this instinct to avoid that pain is so powerful. In a really clever experiment with Salvation Army bell ringers, when they made direct eye contact and asked for donations, a full third of shoppers physically changed their path to use a different entrance to the store. They weren't bad people. They were just instinctively dodging that uncomfortable feeling that comes with an immediate ask. Okay, so we've laid out the problem. How do we start fixing it? Well, the first, and honestly the most powerful tool in your toolbox, is emotion. To build a brand that really resonates and motivates people, you have to connect with the heart, not just the head. Just look at this. This slide shows the setup for a classic study. One group of people got an appeal full of facts and data about a huge problem. The other group, they just got the story of one little girl, Rokia. So, which one do you think worked better? It's not even close. The emotional appeal, the one about one little girl, raised more than twice as much money as the one with all the statistics. And that's such a fundamental insight, right? Your donor's brain isn't a calculator. It's a storyteller. You gotta give it a story, not a spreadsheet. This whole phenomenon actually has a name. It's called the identifiable victim effect. We're just hardwired to be more moved, more motivated to act when we can connect with a single person, someone with a name, a face, a story. It means your brand's messaging has to tell these personal stories to make huge, abstract problems feel real and human. So, connecting to the heart, that's step one. But giving is also deeply personal. It's not just about helping someone else, it's about who we are. And that brings us to the second key: moral identity. The best brand messaging taps into this incredibly powerful sense of self. So, social psychologists talk about two sides of our moral identity.
First, there's internalization. That's how important being a good person is to you privately, on the inside. Then there's symbolization, which is your desire to show other people that you're a good person through what you do. The most powerful donation asks, they hit both of these notes.
I mean, look at these words. We all want to see ourselves as caring, compassionate, generous people, right? So a great nonprofit message frames donating not just as giving away money, but as a chance for the donor to be that helpful, kind person they already believe they are. The donation becomes an act of self-affirmation.
All right, we've covered the heart and the self. The final piece of this puzzle is the herd. We are social animals, through and through, and one of the biggest motivators for anything we do is seeing what everyone else is doing.
This is the core idea of social proof. When we're not sure what to do, we look around for clues. It's why a clear donation box with a few $20 bills in it will magically attract more 20s, while one full of coins just gets more coins. Visible generosity really does breed more generosity.
And check this out. This chart shows the results of a capital campaign experiment, and the effect is just staggering. When a fundraising letter showed a project already had about 10% seed funding, the response was okay. But when it showed it already had 67% seed funding, it generated a six-fold increase in contributions. That strong early support is a powerful signal that says, hey, this is a winner.
And here's another really fascinating twist on this. A study found that telling donors about a big challenge gift that had already been secured increased participation by 23%. And get this, it was even more effective than a traditional offer to match future donations. Why? Because it proves the cause already has serious momentum and credibility.
Okay, so we've broken down the problem, we've looked at the three key psychological drivers of giving. Now let's put it all together into a practical game plan for creating a much more effective, science-backed fundraising message.
At the end of the day, it all comes down to this 4-step checklist for a smarter ask. Number 1, connect to the heart. Tell the story of one individual. 2, appeal to the self. Frame the donation as an act of kindness and generosity. 3, leverage the herd. Show that other people are already on board. And finally, number 4, reduce that friction. Make the process ridiculously simple and maybe even think about that give more tomorrow idea.
And that brings us right to our final thought. As you look at your own organization's messaging, ask yourself this one simple question. Are you just presenting facts and asking your donors to think, or are you telling a story that asks them to feel a real connection and to belong to a community of people who are making a difference? Because the answer to that question, well, it can change everything.